Hey podcast listeners, it's Gfire. Today we are featuring singer-songwriter Tess Posner. But before we get into it, I wanted to let you know I have a fantastic new website up, gfirepodcast.com. Plus, I've made a brand new album, and my album release party is on Thursday, May 9th, 2024 at one of Austin, Texas's premier venues, the O4 Center. Please go to gfirepodcast.com for more information. That's gfirepodcast.com. Now here's the podcast.
Fingers crossed.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, that worked.
That was so weird.
That was so weird. I guess we don't know whose end it was on, but...
We really don't. I certainly do not. That was the first time that's happened, but, you know, in the world of technology, you have to roll with whatever, right?
Exactly, yes.
If in doubt, restart your computers. Hey, Tess Posner, right? Did I say that right?
Posner, but it doesn't really matter.
It matters. Tess Posner. I'll correct myself here. How you doing other than technical difficulties?
Oh, really good, really good. How about you?
Pretty good. It got up to 100 again today. We were hoping it wouldn't keep doing that. I know.
Oh, no.
Fall in Austin, Texas. Yeah, it's 100.
Oh, you're in Austin. Oh, I love Austin.
Yeah, I've been here for over 25 years now.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, so it's definitely... You definitely like it if you've been there that long.
I always hated the cold. I don't really like the 105 temperatures we've been having, but, you know, I was originally from Baltimore, but once I got my degree, I was like, I'm going someplace warm.
Yes, same here. I'm in San Francisco area, but it's not quite as warm as Austin, but I'm from Boston, so it's a lot warmer than Boston.
Yeah. So when did you move to San Francisco?
Let's see, like 10 years ago or more. So yeah, same. I've just grown to love it. I can't imagine leaving at this point.
Yeah, well, I bought this house, so I don't think I'm going anywhere.
Yes, exactly. That's awesome.
So yeah, you know what it's like to move to a new city and say, hey, I've got musician friends and there's a scene here instead of no scene and cold winters.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I've been to Austin a couple times, and actually I was about to go to South by Southwest right as the pandemic happened. And I was like, this is crazy. Because I've been a couple times. And it was just like, when that got shut down, it just was a signal that like, this is serious, because they would not have shut that down otherwise.
Yeah, I had a whole alternative showcase booked. The venue was booked. Everything was booked. Everybody was happy. And then it stopped.
That was sad. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could have called it and said, oh, we'll still play, but it just didn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was like a scary moment.
Yeah, for real. So, well, okay, you're originally from Boston. That was one of my podcast questions. Mm-hmm. And but now you're firmly in SF. Are you living in the city itself or in the outskirts?
No, the outskirts. Yeah, I was living in Oakland, actually right next to San Francisco. And then recently I moved to the north of San Francisco, so to be a little bit more in the woods. So escaping the city in the pandemic is something that I think a lot of people did. And now we're like, wait, we need to be back in the city because that's where all the connection and community happens, you know?
Definitely. I'm hopefully going to do a gig in 2024 in San Fran. That's my
amazing.
Thought. Yeah.
Oh, let me know. I'd love to come support.
Well, maybe you can suggest some venues, or I might do a house concert. I haven't figured it out yet, but it's on my list.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I just played at the Knockout. I did my album release show there. That was like a smaller kind of dive bar-esque kind of alternative venue in the Mission, but it was super fun and great atmosphere. But I'll definitely, let me know. I'm all happy to give recommendations.
Cool. That sounds great. I haven't played out since before the pandemic, but now I'm making a record and gonna have to Book some gigs.
I know, that was me too. Like, I hadn't played since 2019. I've been doing a lot of live streaming on Twitch, which has been amazing. But there's just, when I came back to it, this was just last week, it was incredible. Just the feeling of being with people and having that energy. And it's just like, oh yeah, this is why, this is why live music is amazing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So your album release party went really well?
Yeah, it was great. It was really amazing. Just in terms of, my band was awesome. It's the first time I played with these folks before, and I had two guitarists and a drummer and totally all live instrumentation. So it was just really powerful to have that feeling, you know, again. And then it was a good crowd, and just like, we had an all female lineup, which was really cool. And I felt proud of that. And just like really around the theme of like feminine power and alchemy. And it was really cool. I had a great time.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I obviously have a Women in Music podcast, so I'm right behind that. So, yeah. Well, how did you start out in music?
Yeah, that's a good question. Growing up, I sang in a lot of spiritual settings, choirs, things like that.
Like in church or alternative spiritual stuff, or
more alternative spiritual stuff. My parents were part of this like meditation center community.
Okay.
And this was on the East Coast, so at the time it was like, that wasn't very common. Now, like in California, it's like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. But on the East Coast, it was like, whoa, what? But we would have like chanting sessions.
Like kirtan?
Yeah, kirtans. And a lot of like meditations and chanting and things like that. So, as well as being part of a choir, like at my school and stuff like that. So it was incredible though, I think, to be in a spiritual setting where like there's something powerful about group singing, whether it's a choir or a kirtan or chanting. It just brings you into this feeling of connectedness with this. It's like really powerful. So that was kind of my upbringing. And then I started playing piano and kind of getting some experience singing in coffee shops and stuff as a teenager.
Of course.
And then I studied classical guitar as well in high school and some music in college. But unfortunately, someone, you know, and I'm sure this is something a lot of listeners might relate to, is like, when you say you're really excited and interested in going into music, some people are like, I don't think that's a good idea. This is a really cutthroat industry, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. You name all the things that people say when you say you want to go into music.
Right.
So I had this mentor who definitely was trying to help, but I think really cut it off for me as like a 14-year-old. So I kind of put that dream away and had it always like buried underneath. I was still singing and studying music and doing as much as I could, but wasn't pursuing it as a career until about a year and a half ago, when I left my first career and kind of took the leap into music and following this dream that I've had for many, many years. And it was scary also, but that was one thing about the pandemic, you know, just having this reminder that like life is short. And if you have something that you've been wanting to do, like, go for it. So I did.
So what was your other career? Did you move to San Francisco for a different career?
I did, actually. Yeah. I was working in nonprofits and actually doing a lot of work with female empowerment, which is why I love your podcast and your mission as well, and helping women and girls, and doing a lot of work like helping with education and employment and mentorship. And right before I left, actually, I was running an organization called AI for All that was working on bringing more women and historically excluded populations into the tech sector and AI field, which was incredibly amazing work. And I loved it. And I'm still involved actually with that work as well. But something was calling me to be more connected with music on like an everyday level. So it was a tough decision, but I ended up saying like, okay, that chapter of my life was amazing, and now I'm ready for something different.
So this is your first album then?
Well, actually, I started releasing music when I was still at that job and kind of juggling both, which a lot of people do, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it was actually really helpful because doing nonprofit work, if any listeners out there involved in it, it's like, can be really challenging. You have to always be fundraising. You're trying to confront these like really difficult things in the world. And you're trying to like, you know, do as much as you can to just make an impact in this incredibly big sea of problems. So music was this real healing place where like after work I would go and like start songwriting, collaborate with people, play live. And I put out actually like 25 songs while I was doing that other career.
Okay. Well, so yeah, you're actually an old hand at it then.
Exactly.
Well, this album, I'm always asking, like, I'm going to put out vinyl. What did you end up putting out?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question because I really want to do vinyl. I asked my community, like, do you want vinyl or CDs? And it was a 50-50 split, which was interesting. So I did CDs, which are, as you know, like just easier and much cheaper.
Oh, a lot cheaper and a lot easier.
Yeah.
Were you able to sell a bunch of them at the release show and stuff?
Yeah, I've sold a good amount and I only created 100. So it's kind of like a limited edition thing.
Sure.
So I would like to do vinyl at some point. We'll see how that goes in terms of maybe doing like a Kickstarter or something. Cause I think I have a record player and I love the experience of listening to vinyl. I don't even have a CD player, but I know a lot of people still do or like to collect things. So it's definitely sold fairly well in the first week.
That's good to know. I'm debating if I run. I was just going to print vinyl, actually.
I mean, if you can, I think vinyl sales were up like 42% last year, I was reading. So it's a good time for it.
Yeah. And then for the rest of it, just digital distribution. Who do you use for your digital distribution?
I use The Orchard.
Oh, I don't know them.
They're actually now part of AWOL is like my distributor, and they joined up or were purchased by, I don't know exactly what the deal is, but by The Orchard, which is part of Cobalt, owned by Cobalt. So yeah, they're pretty good to work with.
I've been on CD Baby forever.
Oh yeah, they're great too, you know, very easy and
It's easy, I guess, I'm just used to them.
totally. Yeah, no, that's a popular one for sure.
All right, well, let's talk about some career highlights.
Career highlights. Well, I think
Yeah, I mean, again, you're talking about a year and a half, but you were releasing records before.
Yeah, for sure. I think this album was definitely a highlight for me. It's definitely my most, like the thing that I worked the hardest on out of anything that I've ever done. And I really wanted it to have like this cohesiveness to it. I've mostly released singles. So, with that, it's like, it's different because obviously we're in like a different music business now where everyone's doing singles. But it was really nice to be able to think about a project more cohesively and think about, okay, there's something that I want to say with the full picture of it. And the sound gets to be like really cohesive and kind of thought through in a way that you can't do with a single because it's just a single song.
Absolutely, yeah. The whole 5 songs tell a story.
Exactly. So that was really an amazing experience. And getting to work with my producer, who actually was my mentor for years before I actually got to work with him. And he's so talented. And we were just like totally on the same page with the vision and the soundscapes. And he's so talented that it was like, okay, let's do this. And he'll pull up like, it was just a great collaboration. And I can't say enough, as I'm sure like when you collaborate with the right people, it just like brings you out.
Oh, yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, which is so amazing, So that was a great experience and total highlight. So I think that, and then my very first song that I ever wrote was a highlight. just
Sure.
because it kind of opened the floodgates of some new direction in life that I totally didn't expect.
And when did you write that?
That was in 2017.
Okay, okay.
It was called Love Song to Myself.
That's
I was like,
empowering.
oh, there's enough love songs like with other people, but how many love songs are about yourself?
Right. And, like you said, we're taking a different kind of take now, empowering women. Not, it's not all about just who our partner is.
Exactly.
That doesn't
Yeah,
always define us as a person.
exactly. That's exactly what it was about. So it was very healing for me to write that, and I realized, this is what I've always wanted to be doing. And I wrote poetry a lot, and but I didn't really think that I had anything to say. And so when my singing teacher at the time, she was like, just try writing every morning, get a candle and just like do stream of consciousness for a couple weeks and just like see what happens. And don't look at it until you've done a lot of it first. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, like this is like there was so much that needed to be said in there.
Yeah.
And this like reservoir of feelings and expression that I just knew I was ready to kind of unlock.
That's excellent. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, I'm really glad she told me to do that.
Now, okay, this mentor, who's now your producer, not the mentor but from Boston, right?
No, totally
That
different.
was a
Many
totally different
mentors in
thing.
my experience, yeah.
So, how did you meet this particular mentor?
The producer mentor, whose name is Rob Wells, he is a faculty at the Songwriting Academy.
Okay, is that in San Francisco?
It's actually based out of the UK.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and so they have an international focus, and there's like a year-long songwriting mentorship program where you get mentorship from top award-winning songwriters, and you take it's pretty intensive. Like you take courses every week, you get your songs reviewed, you do co-writes. So I did that a couple of years ago. I forget, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, just to kind of improve my writing and get that feedback from the industry. And that's how I met him. And we just really always connected. And I learned a lot from him. And then we ended up staying connected after the program. And I ended up, kind of showing him the songs and saying, hey, would you have an interest in working on this? And he did. So it was like, wow, I'm so lucky.
That is, you know, that's spiritual.
It was.
It's like kismet. It's like, wow, okay, I'll take that.
Exactly. It was
Is he
amazing.
British?
No, he's Canadian from the Toronto area.
And is that where he lives? Did you guys record in Toronto or?
We did everything virtually.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, which was amazing because so many things interrupted this album. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. So on my way to recording in LA, I was booked some studio space and really nice spot that I wanted to go to. Morning of, I wake up and I have COVID, of course.
Jesus.
I had everything booked. Like the studio, it was like everything was all set to go. So I had to go all the way back here home to the Bay Area and cancel everything. I ended up being sick for like a week. And
Oh gosh.
yeah, it was really, really crazy. And then we decided like, I'm just going to figure out how to record at home because there's just too many variables. So I ended up buying this like box, this soundproofing box.
I've seen those.
They're like the pop-up. Yeah.
Right, a pop-up singing booth, basically.
It actually worked really well. And he had this amazing software that I'd never used before that does like lossless audio over this software system that you need like a really good internet connection, but it works really well. So that was super cool to be able to do remote sessions, who knew that could ever be possible?
Wow. I mean, I just record my vocals here and then I go someplace else to mix.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
Yeah, it was amazing.
that's
I mean, I
well,
wanted him in the room with me because it's helpful to have, at least for me, like with these songs, it was really helpful to have like that extra ear on it and kind of, you
I'm,
know,
I'm the opposite. I don't want anybody here. I want to work on my
mm.
vocals and I don't want anybody telling me what to do. But everybody works differently and you have to set it up so that you get the maximum vocal performance that you
So
can.
true.
So if you know that in advance, that's really good information.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, some people have candles or mood lighting or whatever. Different people have different ways of getting their best vocals. So that's
Absolutely.
interesting. So have you ever met him in person?
No, we've done everything over Zoom and the software, which is kind of crazy, you know?
Modern technology.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was kind of like, didn't go. I probably, if it wasn't during COVID times, I would have flown for sure to his
To
studio.
Toronto, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want to do it remotely, but first I got COVID, then we had like all these storms and it was just like a crazy experience. So I'm glad technology saved us because that would have been even crazier if I'd tried to, travel and it was crazy.
Well, I liked what I heard. Let's talk about the song Volcano.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, Volcano, I wrote as well, there's a whole story behind it, but the purpose of it is really to help those that might doubt their inner power or their inner voice to feel that power again and to, I think as women, we're kind of trained by society to be quiet or to be nice or to kind of smile. And I mean, that goes back so many thousands of years, right? And even
Absolutely.
as far as like the witches burning and like there have been real consequences for women owning their power and still are in many parts of the world.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think of other third world countries.
Exactly.
We have it relatively good here, and we still have a lot of trouble here.
Exactly. So I think there's that fear, that I certainly feel inside myself of like, if I speak my truth, there will be consequences. So Volcano is about that sort of like something is building inside of you that's been pushed down for a long time. And when you kind of come out like a volcano, it's really this eruption of this energy that's been stuck or been pushed down. And then the line, the chorus goes, I'm a volcano. When I let my fire go, I make diamond sands and fertile lands where new things grow. So,
Yeah.
the idea behind that is like, it doesn't have to be, it actually can be a powerful force for good. Not like volcanoes are what created all of the land that we live on.
I've never thought of it that way, but yeah. Everything has erupted from volcanoes, I guess, back in time. You might
Exactly.
have more backstory than I do on that.
Yeah, they're definitely seen as destructive, which they are, but they also are life-giving and they create the earth, literally. So I kind of wanted that to be the metaphor that like, yes, we're afraid to speak our truth, but when we do, it's not actually a destructive force. It's a creative healing force.
I really like that.
Thank you.
All right, here's where I say let's let the listeners listen to Volcano.
Running through concrete streets, I feel something building inside. It shakes the ground beneath my feet. So I move faster and faster, my heart like a drum getting louder. Don't think that I can hold it back. if I can't control it. I don't want this world to choke on the anger that has smoldered into ash and smoke. It's coming and I know it. It brings me to my knees. For so long these tremors waiting to find their sweet release. I'm a volcano when I let my fire go. I make diamond sands, fertile lands. You will know I'm a volcano. When I let my fire go, I make diamond sands, fertile lands. You will know I'm a volcano. I let my fire go. I make diamond sands, fertile lands.
Yeah, your vocals sound great on this.
Thank you so much.
They just sound awesome. And you were doing it remote, but Rob was in his place in Toronto. And what did you use for lossless transmission?
Gosh, gotta remember the
You
name
don't
of
know?
this
That's
program.
cool.
I forget. I'll definitely send it to you separately, but
Yeah,
it's,
put it in the show notes.
yeah, totally. I should definitely. I'll follow up on that. I never used it before, but yeah, that was a new vocal edge for me, I would say, which was really fun to explore, of like this kind of volcanic sound.
For lack of a better word, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it feels powerful. Like you are erupting with emotion on that.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely tried, and a lot of my vocals have been, soft and purposely, because it's like I write a lot of soothing music and music about healing, and so this was really fun to be like, okay, where's that powerful voice that I know I have inside, and that we all do.
Absolutely. And it's good to explore all the different types of vocals we can do with our instrument.
Yeah, what an amazing instrument.
I know. It's like the goddess's gift. That's how I look at it.
Exactly. Well said.
All right. Well, I was impressed that you seem to have a lot of like Spotify plays and you had a lot of good metrics. I'm always curious how you were able to develop that. Did you, I don't know, push to any Spotify playlist people, or how did you, and do you also have like TikTok and stuff like that? I'm just curious how people are using like social media to their benefit.
Yeah.
Like how to crack that acorn, basically.
I know, it is quite an acorn.
Tough nut to crack, but you did it. So I'm always like, how'd you do it? Did you hire somebody, or did you?
Yeah, I guess the main thing that's helped me in that regard, I do have TikTok. I'm probably like oversaturated on all the platforms. I have TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, just try to be out there.
Wow,
but I
that's
think,
a lot.
yeah. It's not necessarily recommended that everybody stretches themselves that thin. But I think what I'd like to try to do is to really think about the engagement. I know people hate that because it's like, oh, you have to spend all this time connecting with people and it can be draining. But to me, that's like my Instagram, especially in places where you can direct message with people.
Yeah.
And just try to build real connections with people instead of thinking of it like numbers or whatever. It's like, hey, you followed me. Wow, thank you so much. And like, where are you from? And just starting these connections, and really, I try to respond to like every comment and every message, which I don't because it's impossible, but with that intention that like anybody that's coming into my community, I want to connect with them and thank them and show appreciation and gratitude. And I think that that has like a snowball effect, because then you start building this community. So I have like a Facebook community of almost 1,000 people. I have a Patreon community. I have an email community. I have a Twitch community. And it really feels like a community. Like, it's not like just random people that are following me. It's really human connection. And I think that personally is like what I'm the most proud of, in terms of those are people that are connected to each other, that often have a lot of similar interests. We talk about, like, for my community, it's like healing or mental health or things like that. Nature is a big one, but any community can have like its own facets and its own interests, and that's what's beautiful about it. So I do think that that helps. It like helps the algorithm, but it also is like way more satisfying, because you're just having these direct connections with people, and you're cultivating that network, which I think is really powerful. And then, yeah, I've done like a lot of individual outreach, hey, I really like your playlist. It sounds like XYZ. Would you consider my song? So like stuff like that.
And how do you find the playlist? I guess just do a search on spiritual or...
Great question. There's a lot of different things that I've done. One of them is to look at all the similar artists that I'm like, and I find what playlists they're on.
Like, for example, who are similar artists to your sound?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, who would you consider? I know Florence and the Machine is a little bit of an influence, right?
Yeah, definitely Florence and the Machine. Aurora, I love. And we have like some similar sounds. Ruel, who's like also a cinematic pop artist. And I might not look at them. I might look at like slightly smaller artists that are more where I am and see like, okay, what are they doing,
Sure.
And that was a really good start. And I just made the spreadsheet, it's a lot of work, but at this point I kind of have kind of a team that I work with that helps me do some of this stuff as well. So that makes it easier.
Who's on your team? I know obviously your publicist got a hold of me.
Yeah, that's actually my manager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she does outreach for me as well. So that's like a huge help.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you meet her?
I met her through in my network. Like, somebody just introduced me, and she's also really focused on like feminine empowerment and stuff like that. So I really resonated with her mission, and we connected. So it was great.
And is she in San Francisco as well? She's
in LA, actually.
Okay, not too far.
Yeah, exactly. We have met in person.
Okay. Good to know. Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. So do you have any cautionary tales? Sometimes those are fun, like oops, or try not to do this. You could give advice or anything like that. I just always ask that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think just not letting people, like, I know a lot of artists who are very early on in their journey, or people that are like just starting to like, oh, maybe I could write a song, like maybe I'll share it, maybe like just starting that initial journey. And I think that is like the most fragile moment, because it's really terrifying to share yourself in this vulnerable way. And I see a lot of people like kind of always wanting to do it, but never quite getting there. And I think what I would say, because I went through that too when I first started doing this, we all have that doubt where it's like, I don't think I should even do this. Like, I don't want to be humiliated or get bad criticism or whatever the fear is. That just to tell everybody out there that it's like, don't let that discourage you, because everybody feels that way, even if you've done it a lot. And it's still just like, you know, I like to think that good art, you have to risk something for. And so kind of thinking of it as like part of the process, like you're going to feel like exposed, you're going to feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? And that's kind of the edge of what actually like vulnerably sharing is, and kind of that edge of creative expression. So don't play it safe. Don't listen to people who are like, no, you can't do that. Because I definitely had people, they were like, are you sure? Like, I don't think you should really do this. You know, you have this great career already. Like, why would you put yourself out there in that way? And it was hurtful because I was like, oh shoot, maybe I shouldn't. But in the end, I trusted my heart, you know, and I trusted my deeper sense of like, I should follow my heart and not listen to this. So if anybody else is going through that, just remember that like we all feel that way, and it doesn't necessarily ever go away. I think it's part of the artistic process and why artists are so incredible, because they have the courage to keep revealing that edge, even though it's terrifying.
I like that. That's what I told your manager, Jane. I was like, I like Tess. I want to have her on here.
Well, thank you. I like you.
Oh, mutually. Okay, great. Do you have any plugs? This will probably come out in like 3 to 4 months because that's just what I do.
Totally.
So yeah, so it's September now. So like December, beginning of 2024, anything that's going to be coming up, or should I just direct people to your website?
Yeah. Or the album, I'm sure it'll still be in promotion. Yeah.
What's the actual album title?
Alchemy.
Alchemy. I can relate to all this stuff.
Oh, awesome.
Because there's like 5 songs that tell the story of the album, right?
Exactly.
You want to just briefly describe that arc?
Yeah, absolutely. So alchemy is this strange medieval science where people were trying to turn base metals into gold. And they used all of the elements like earth, air, fire, water, spirit. And eventually that system sort of evolved into a psychological idea, or something that like represents the human process internally. And so each of the songs corresponds to a different element: earth, air, fire, water, spirit, and kind of brings in the wisdom of that element. I have Black Cloud, that's about the healing power of your tears and this experience of like crying after being depressed and how transformative that was. Volcano is, of course, about fire.
Exactly.
So each one follows an element, and it's subtle, so it's not like it's called that element or something, but it's woven in this sense of we can use nature to transform or to heal painful experiences into something powerful for healing or transformation.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Really,
Thank you
it
so
is.
much.
All right. Well, the website's tessposner.com.
Tess Posner Music or tessposner.com. Either one works.
All right. Either one, or plus music. And on all the socials, are you just Tess Posner Music?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. That's good. And you're really doing it all, like all the socials.
Pretty much.
Wow. I'm impressed.
It's hard to keep up with it, and I don't always do a great job, but it definitely helps to feel them out and to see which ones you like. I definitely spend like less time on Twitter or X or whatever.
It's X now.
It's X.
I'm kind of Xing it off of my socials. I don't know about X.
I know, exactly. So
It's like an X for me.
yeah, forget it. Exactly.
I just don't like Musk. It just bothers me. You know?
Yeah.
I don't like to promote people that I just don't agree with in such a big way.
I feel that completely, yes.
Yeah, so
Totally.
I don't think I've posted on there since it became X.
I don't know that I have either. Yeah, it's hard to justify.
But yeah, your Tess Posner Music, and is there anything else I haven't covered?
No, we covered a lot. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a great conversation.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure meeting you. Pleasure talking to you. It'll come out in like 3-4 months, and Jane said that's fine, and I'll just let you know when it's out there, and you can publicize it however you like on as many networks as you feel like it.
Perfect. I totally will. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, have a good rest of your evening.
Yeah, you too. Have a great day. And if you come to San Francisco, let me know.
I will totally let you know.
Okay, great. Looking forward to it. Bye.
Bye.